Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivajik Jai Shri Srimad Bhagavatam Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Canto 8 Withdrawal of the Cosmic Creations. Thank you. Thank you. Chapter 3 Gajendra's Prayers of Surrender. Text 28. Namaha Namas Tubhyam Asaya Vega Shakti Triyaya Kila Di Gunaya Prapanna Palaya Dharanta Shaktaye Kad Indriyanam Anavapya Vartmane Namo Namastubhyam Namo Namastubhyam Asaya Vega Shakti Triyaya Kila Digunaya Prapanna Palaya Dharanta Shaktaye Kadindriyanam Avavapya Vartmane Namo Namastu Bhimasaya Vega Shakti Triyaya Kila Digunaya Prapanna Palaya Dharanta Shakti Kadindriyanam Anavapya Vartmane Namo Namastu Vimasaya Vega Shakti Trayaya Kiladi Gunaya Prapannapalaya Dharanta Shakti Kadindriyanam Anavapya Vartmane.
Prapannapalaya Dharanta Shakti Kadindriyanam Anavapya Vartmane. Namo namastu Bhyamasaya Vega. Shakti Trayaya Kiladi Gunaya. Prapannapalaya Dharanta Shakti Kadindriyanam Anavapya Vartmane.
Tapas, you like to go? Or Vijay Krishna?
Namo namastu bham ashaya vega.
Namo namastu Bhyamasaya Vega.
Shakti traya khila dhigunaya. Prapannapalaya duranta shaktaye. Kadindriyanam anuvapya vartmane.
All right. Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. Namaha. Again, I offer my respectful obeisances. Tubhyam, unto you. Saya, formidable. Vega, forces. Shakti Trayaya, unto the Supreme Person, who has threefold potencies. Akila, of the universe. D, for the intelligence. Gunaya, who appears as the sense objects. Prapannapalaya, unto the Supreme, who gives shelter to the surrendered. Dharanta Shaktiye, who possesses energies very difficult to overcome. Kat Indriyanam, by persons unable to control their senses. Anavapya, who is unattainable. Vartmane, on the path. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. My Lord, you are the controller of the formidable strength in three kinds of energy. You appear as the reservoir of all sense pleasure and the protector of the surrendered souls. You possess unlimited energy, but you are unapproachable by those who are unable to control their senses. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you again and again. Purport. Attachment, greed, and lust are three formidable forces that prevent one from concentrating upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These forces act because the Supreme Lord does not like to be realized by non-devotees and atheists. However, when one surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord, these impediments are withdrawn, and one can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord is the protector of the surrendered soul. One cannot become a devotee until one surrenders unto the Lord's lotus feet. Then the Lord gives one the intelligence from within, by which one can return home back to Godhead. Om Gyanativarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmalitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitavachalam Pangam Langai Tegrem Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurundinita Tarinam Vancha Koptadibishcha Kripasan Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. My Lord, you are the controller of formidable strength in three kinds of energy. You appear as the reservoir of all sense pleasure. Materialists might like that, Ron, right? The reservoir of all sense pleasure. And the protector of the surrendered souls. You possess unlimited energy, but you are unapproachable by those who are unable to control their senses. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you again and again. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. In Laguna Beach, some years ago, it's probably a post-Gaur Purnim festival, there's quite a number of devotees who attend that festival from Los Angeles and San Diego and Orange County area. And there was a number of senior devotees there giving class and so on. And then one devotee in the audience, I think he's from Los Angeles, but young, energetic, full of life, young man asked a question. He raised his hand. He said, "Oh, Maharaj, it's kind of difficult. I mean, because there's so much kirtan going on, and so there are some questions floating around about kirtan. So he asked the question. He said, Maharaj, it's so difficult. I just sometimes I have a hard time not singing for trying for the pleasure of women. That's in my mind. I'm trying to attract women by my singing. So how do I deal with that?" Which I thought was very honest of him. In front of quite a lot of devotees, like a whole temple room packed full of people. He wasn't hiding it, and I thought that was nice. He was trying to expose himself, or because could be a step in getting better, just revealing one's mind, and he did it before all these Vaishnavas. So, and then speaker, he said, "Oh well, there was one devotee that part of the 24-hour kirtan." I've said this a number of times here, but there's one devotee part of the 24-hour kirtan, and he had a dream in which he went up to Srila Prabhupada in the form of the Murti, and then Prabhupada started speaking with him in the form of the Murti. In this dream, he said, I'm very pleased that you're singing for me in this 24-hour kirtan, that you're engaged in, Krishna Balarama Mandir, 24-hour kirtan in Vrindavan. And then you could imagine, if Srila Prabhupada or your spiritual master or someone, a great Vaishnava, appears to you in your dream, and and they tell you, "I'm very pleased with you." You can imagine, it's a wonderful feeling. Or if in the daydream, if your spiritual master or some great Vaishnava, they acknowledge and they say, I'm pleased with your efforts, I'm pleased with you. It's a great feeling, to have that victory. So the devotee's probably feeling very wonderful in the dream. All right, Prabhupada's pleased with me. Jai, 24-hour kirtan ki jai. And then Prabhupada continues, and then he says, "But if you keep on leading kirtan to attract women, to impress women, you go to hell." So, and from that, obviously the devotee, he tried to better himself in the 24-hour kirtan. And yeah, it does happen in kirtans. I mean, people do sing kirtans for wrong reasons. People do so many things for wrong reasons. So that was the answer that was given to this devotee, more or less. That yes, it's pleasing to Krishna for us to engage in devotional service, for us to engage in kirtan and so on, but we have to do it for the right reasons, or else we'll get the wrong result. And it's interesting because when you think about living entities going to hell, because here it's mentioning there's 3 gates, right? 3 doors, 1, 2, or 3: attachment, or lust, greed, and anger. these are the three doors that lead down to hell. But when we think about people going to hell, or we might think about devotees going to hell, but even just certain people going to hell, can anyone here think of any examples in scriptures of a devotee going to hell, or for that matter, even just an example of a person going to hell, like a particular person? Can anyone think of some example?
I have an example.
Okay.
Well, in Bhagavad Gita, as it is, Krishna chants to Arjuna that if you die covered by the mode of ignorance, you will take birth in the animal kingdom, which is not different in a sense from hellish life.
You're saying those little cute puppies, it's a hellish life? It's cute.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Hare Krishna.
To be a puppy is not even from being in hell.
Okay. Any specific examples of like individuals? Okay, thank you, Vijay Krishna. Thank you very much for your contribution. I'm glad you're.
You're
there.
welcome, Balaram Prabhu.
Any specific yes.
I don't remember exactly. It's from, I heard it from lectures, and it's like stories, Vedic, that when one Brahman and one prostitute, they live together, and he thinking that she is so fallen and so on and so on. And when Yamadutas came for them, he was surprised, that astonished, why you come to me? You should go to her.
Yeah, that's also we discussed that some time ago about that story. You have to have the right mindset. Yeah, so that's an example of a Brahman. Any other examples that anyone could think of about a particular living entity, like an example of somebody going to hell, like literally going to hell? Any devotee or even a non-devotee in scripture, like, because there's demons and there's non-devotees and so on.
Where like explains like some like fifth canto hell and
like in the Bhagavatam or.
Is this like a test, or you really would? I mean,
No, I'm asking if anybody.
I'm really not thinking of any particular character that like we read them going to hell.
Yudhishthir Maharaj saw a glimpse of the hell. He didn't go to hell, but saw a glimpse of the hell.
Yeah, he saw a glimpse.
Yeah.
But what about someone actually going to hell? A non-devotee, anybody in the Bhagavatam, of course in the Bhagavad Gita, because most of it's philosophical principles without much story there or history there. But the Bhagavatam, you
From
have...
Chaitanya Charitamrita also, what's that devotee who was offend Shivas Thakur, and he was sick by leprosy.
Yeah.
But no, this is not exactly. It was like
Hellish
dialogue
suffering.
that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him that you can't tolerate this leprosy. What you will do in hell?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because if you think about the Bhagavatam, you think about the pastimes that Srila Prabhupada would tell from different Puranas or different. You think about what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote and so on, the previous acharyas. There is not much mention about a devotee going to hell. Or maybe, I don't know if it says explicitly, he went to... Because the journey from okay, he did this, he lived his life, he did this, and that, and then he journeyed down to hell, and then he suffered in this particular way. Like, in terms of a description being there, I mean, you don't see much. I mean, I can't think of one. I don't think anybody else could think of one clearly either. But if we look at on the opposite side, you have Putana, you have Ravana, you have all these demons, and how they were killed by Krishna or Ram, or different. Or you have, and how they were liberated. You have Jamil. He lived a very sinful life. He became deviant and led a very sinful life. He's about to go to hell, but he didn't. He was saved by the holy name. He had a second chance. Yes.
I've remembered one more story, and then one very sinful man. He was died. He appeared in hell, and Yamadutas tried to, how to say, put him in like fire lake.
Yeah.
But when they put there, immediately water becomes very cool, and lotus, everything like this. Remember, sir?
Where was that from?
It's also from some like stories. I don't remember exactly from where.
Yeah.
And this guy, he is like dead. He fall from the horse in the place where one Brahman make Achaman, and because of that, it was he like take this release from.
Yeah. There's sometimes things that devotees say in classes and here and there, and it's hard sometimes to trace those, if devotees could even trace them. But all right. So you have like a Jamil. He was sinful, but then he was saved by the chanting of the holy name. He had a second chance. But he didn't actually go to hell. You have Jagai and Madai. They were born in a very good family, but they became fallen. But then they were also delivered. You have Bharat Maharaj, right, who made a mistake, but then he was ultimately liberated. So you have a lot of examples in scripture, like, because sometimes the Bhagavatam's very negative and this and that, but there's so many stories of success in the Bhagavatam that we could gain inspiration from. But we could see the emphasis of Shukadeva Goswami, the emphasis of the Charyas, that they don't give many detailed stories of even a non-devotee going to hell, and, them dying and going to hell and all that. So it's interesting. Of course, you have the third canto of the Bhagavatam, which in principle describes the journey of a soul going to hell. Which we won't get into. We went through that canto some months ago. But if you go through the verses, how the living entity is associating with sensually inclined people, and how they have uncontrolled senses, and so on. Srila Prabhupada makes a point in the purport. He says that sometimes people claim to be Christians or Hindus or Muslims, but he says that if they associate with such sensually minded people, non-devotees, then he says they become. He first of all says the Christians, Hindu, Muslims are attached to a particular organization, but he says if they're not careful and if they associate with such people, they also go to hell. It's quite interesting. So belief is not going to solve the problem, the hell problem. So it has a whole journey of how the soul goes to hell and then suffers in a certain way, and then takes birth in lower species and eventually makes it back to the human plane. And then the Bhagavatam goes through it one more time. They go through what the souls experience in the womb and how they're praying and to be delivered. A pious soul is praying to be delivered from the womb. And then how the soul how the living entity appears, born in a physical, or is the soul in that comes in the form of a baby out, and then living and then again he associates with wrong people and commits sinful activity and goes to hell again. The Bhagavatam goes through 2 journeys. With the emphasis that we shouldn't associate with such persons, sensually minded persons, worldly persons, because the result is very bad. It increases one's, it leads one to hell. Lust, anger, and greed, the gateways to hell. So, in relation to anger, in the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam, there is the chapter Swayambhuva Manu advises Dhruva Maharaj, or Dhruva Maharaj, so within this chapter, what's happening within this chapter? This chapter comes after the description of Dhruva Maharaj killing yakshas. And why did he kill them? He killed them because they killed his brother. But he was killing them to such a degree that it was considered he was going overboard. And it said he practically annihilated the whole race of yakshas. Now, interesting enough, in the verse and also in the purport, it says that if one is killed by a devotee or by Krishna, they become liberated. That's what it says in the verse and the purport. Of course, this is an exceptional principle. It's not something that someone should take from the Bhagavatam class and try to do. Well, I'm a devotee, I'm going to liberate some people. We're not into that type of liberation. We try to kill the demoniac mentality in people's hearts by giving people Krishna consciousness. But it's a very interesting point. It brings it up. But Dhruva Maharaj, he went overboard, and he killed a lot of them. So then what happened? Swayambhuva Manu saw his grandson Dhruva Maharaj was killing so many of the yakshas who were not actually offenders. Out of his great compassion, he approached Dhruva with great sages to give him good instruction. So he wanted to give him good instruction. He said, "My son, please stop, my dear son. It is not good to become unnecessarily angry. It is the path to hellish life." So we can live in hell in this life due to not having control of our lust, anger, and greed. We don't have to wait until next life to experience hellish life. We could experience hellish life now if we don't control our lust, anger, and greed. So he says, it's a path to hellish life. Now you're going beyond the limit by killing yakshas who are actually not offenders. And then in the purport, Prabhupada says, Atiroshena means with unnecessary anger. When Dhruva went beyond the limits of necessary anger, his grandfather immediately came to protect him from further sinful action. From this we can understand that killing is not bad, but when killing is done unnecessarily, or when an offenseless person is killed, such killing opens the path to hell. Dhruva Maharaj was saved from such sinful action because he was a great devotee. So Swayambhuva Manu came, and he helped Dhruva Maharaj. And because Dhruva Maharaj is a pure devotee, he listened. He stopped. Then he says in the next 8, "My dear son, the killing of the sinless yakshas which you have undertaken is not at all approved by authorities, and it does not befit our family, which is supposed to know the laws of religion and irreligion." And then he says, you've killed many who are innocent. One should not accept the body as a self, and thus, like the animals, kill the bodies of others. This is especially forbidden by saintly persons who follow the path of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when you give good instruction to an envious person, what happens? They become more angry. They don't accept the instruction. When you give instruction to a devotee, when you give instruction, then they consider it. They follow it. So Dhruva Maharaj, he's a great devotee, he's a pure devotee, and he accepted the instruction of Swayambhuva Manu. It is very difficult to achieve the spiritual abode of Hari in the Vaikuntha planets, but you are so fortunate that you are already destined to go to that abode by worshipping Him as the supreme abode of all living entities. And then he says, because you are a pure devotee of the Lord is always thinking of you, and you are also recognized by His confidential devotees. Your life is meant for exemplary behavior. I am therefore surprised. Why have you undertaken such an abominable task? So then Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, Dhruva Maharaj was a pure devotee and was accustomed to always thinking of Krishna. Reciprocally, the Lord always thinks of those pure devotees who think of Him only 24 hours a day. As a pure devotee doesn't know anything beyond the Lord, so the Lord does not know anything beyond His pure devotee. Swayambhuva Manu pointed out this fact. Not only are you a pure devotee, but you are recognized by all pure devotees of the Lord. You should always act in an exemplary way that others may learn from you. Under the circumstance, it is surprising you've killed so many faultless yakshas. So when people read this description, their conception of a pure devotee may change. I mean, Dhruva Maharaj here, Swayambhuva Manu is saying that you went overboard. You lost control of your anger. Of course, Dhruva Maharaj is a extremely exceptional devotee, found in the pages of the Bhagavatam. And also you have so many other examples of Shiva and other great personalities. But the principle's there, that sometimes great souls may commit a mistake. But their glory is that they do not give up serving Krishna, and they resume the path, a spiritual path. They may commit a mistake, but they continue. When I was in one place some time ago, I asked devotees there. I was meeting with a youth group of devotees, and I asked them, so how many pure devotees are there in ISKCON? And then one person, they raised their hand and they said, I don't think there's any pure devotees in ISKCON. And I said, okay, any other thoughts? And then another person raised their hand and they said, they're all pure devotees in ISKCON. I said, okay. So I said, okay, on this side of the room, he's thinking there's no pure devotees. And on this side of the room, she's thinking they're all pure devotees. And I said, anyone in the middle? And there was one fellow sitting right in the middle. And he said, oh, I think there's some pure devotees. Okay, I said, he's in the middle, literally. But when we think of example of pure devotee, I mean, the conception we may have, again, may change hearing descriptions of Dhruva Maharaj and others. So for us, we should be kind to other in relation to how we see other devotees. That when they commit a mistake, when they do something wrong, we should be very mercifully. We should be compassionate in the sense that we should still consider them devotees, and And in some cases, they may even be pure devotees, despite their faults. So yeah, we should keep that in mind. Lastly, it is very important we ourselves, but again, Srila Prabhupada says we shouldn't take this as an excuse that I'm a devotee, it means I could do whatever I want. We shouldn't try to justify our bad actions or our sinful actions or our wrong actions with, I'm a devotee. Hey, I'm in the shower. Hey, Prabhu, just give me a little more time. I'm just trying to soap up a little more. Just give me a little more time. We shouldn't use that wrongly. That is one trick of Maya. We may try to use that line. But we should try to control. And lastly, in this chapter, there's a description of, here it's mentioned, a person who desires liberation from this material world should not fall under the control of anger. Because when bewildered by anger, one becomes a source of dread for all others. Srila Prabhupada explains, a devotee or a saintly person should not be dreadful to others, nor should anyone be a source of dread to him. If one treats others with non-enmity, then no one will become his enemy. There is an example, however, Jesus Christ had no enemies, and they crucified him. The demonic are always present, and they find fault even in saintly persons. But a saintly person never becomes angry, even if there is very great provocation. Later, Prabhupada. So it's like this, it's going back and forth on the chapter. Prabhupada also talks about the duty of Kshatriyas, in relation to Dhruva Maharaj and this and that. So like it's going back and forth. But we want to be a source of inspiration for the Vaishnavas. We want to be a source of inspiration. So we have to be careful, in relation to controlling these things, anger, lust, greed. All right, any question or comment?
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the important topic. A question, what's the difference and how we recognize it? That when some devotee make some mistakes and when someone use it like excuse to make this sinful activity.
Yeah. Well, that it's part of their ongoing behavior. They just keep on over and repeating the same behavior over and over and over again. And that they're not actively trying to root that out of their heart by their spiritual practice, by their Krishna consciousness. And even if, and in addition to that, if they just say, hey, this is just me, this is just how I am, then these are all indications that they're using it as an excuse. They're not trying hard. They're not trying hard enough. They're not recognizing it to be a problem, and they're just saying, "This is me." So these are signs, bad signs. If somebody, here and there's some problem, and they're actively trying to resolve that problem within themselves, and they're very regretful for it. There's some, please forgive me, I'm really sorry. This is not me. This is just my anartas. I really, and I'm trying to. Then that's good. That's the necessary. That's the right thing to do. Yeah. So.
Sometimes we can see that someone can speak that, I'm not, that was not my or like this, but continue. So maybe sometimes also can be like he makes like performance that he regret or something like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say what's going on in people's minds or consciousness because it's very complex. I mean, a lot of the times people don't even know what's going on in their mind and their consciousness. Just it's a very complicated matter, you know. Sometimes people are feeling remorseful, but how remorseful are they feeling? Are they feeling 100% remorseful? Like 80, 90, 70, 50? Maybe they're feeling remorseful today, but then tomorrow they're thinking, okay, but hey, I'm only human, and you know, like, yeah, they're regretting how remorseful they felt yesterday, and they talk with someone, and the person says, "You're right. You know, you shouldn't feel remorseful at all." And the person, "Yeah, yeah." Sure. So like that, there's all this stuff going on. It's very difficult. But here we also seen in the pastime of this case of Dhruva Maharaj, he had Swayambhuva Manu, you know, somebody come in and talk to him. So we also need that. We need people to come in and talk with us and you know, what's going on and try to point things out to us. That's the importance of having devotee association and being open to. Yes, Matthias.
Thank you for the class. How can we be like compassionate towards like everyone, and maybe like outside the temple, like also in the temple but outside the temple, like maybe like people who work or who go to school and they have like to tolerate, I don't know, their boss, their teacher, their classmates, and be compassionate like all day, like that.
Well, the emphasis of morning sadhana is very important. So to cut off the world, to cut off the external world in the morning hours completely, and just focus oneself on Krishna alone, or Radha Krishna, or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, to focus on Krishna consciousness alone. This will give one the strength to deal with all the difficulties of the day, whether that means a boss or that means working, or whatever that means to a particular individual. If they're able to focus in the morning, then they're able to have that strength. Just like Srila Prabhupada was asked a number of times about how to increase book distribution, and Prabhupada didn't give much at all. He didn't really give any emphasis on tactics so much. I mean, he said a few things like sell the book on its own merits, so you could quote something from the book or describe the book, right, that you're trying to sell. But then he also said a number of he said like our main tactics is nice hearing and chanting. That's where we get our strength. Or he also said one time that if you want to increase your book distribution, then you sit down and you chant 16 rounds all in one at one go, one time, and that will increase book distribution. The idea is that if we're able to conquer our mind, you could say at that point. I was thinking because it says here in the purport we read today, greed, lust, and anger, they prevent one from concentrating on Krishna. Sometimes people experience that during japa. They're chanting Hare Krishna, and they cannot focus on the holy name of Krishna because of lust, because of greed, because of anger. So if one's able to somehow or other, by the mercy of Krishna and by their sincerity and really try, and if they're able to focus and concentrate, then when they go out on book distribution, they'll be much more powerful. So that goes for brahmacharis, households, that goes for everyone. So that's how one could be compassionate towards others. And actually, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, that compassion arises in the heart, from the heart becoming soft by the chanting of the holy name. Dwijamani?
You said that you don't have to go and wait for the next life to go to hell. And how can we understand this statement if in this life we can still experience some kind of happiness and also this opportunity for causeless mercy? And another question, which could be also related, is what are the qualities of someone who's eternally liberated in this life? I think there's some specific qualities described by our acharyas, but maybe if you can remember some of them.
Well, the liberated qualities are there, found in the Nectar of Devotion. There's, I believe, 9. At least liberated means, if you want to say practically liberated, or 9 symptoms of bhava. Those are there. They don't waste time. They have a great attraction to hearing and chanting about Krishna. They're detached from material things like that. There's 9 of them, symptoms. Great humility and so on. And in relation to hellish life in this world, yeah, there might be some happiness, if you want to call it that, but many people, they have no experience of happiness at all. And we would argue that people don't even know how to be materially happy in these times. You know, like they don't know how to have a family, like a happy family. Or they don't know how to grow their own food. They don't know how to build nice houses. They don't know how to... These are just like things to be like, if you want to say materially happy. So if you add them lacking spiritual consciousness, and then if you add them not knowing how to even live materially, it's a really hellish existence, actually. And their so-called happiness is, you know, some gross sense gratification, which is not, it's not even fine, you know, sense gratification. It's unfortunate. So now, is it to the degree of hell like in the lower planets? I don't know. It's not, because that's extreme suffering. But it's a type of hell. There's different types of hell. There's different, you know, categories, levels of Sometimes they describe hell as the soul being separated from God. It's a type of hell. Means if you're not God conscious, it's a type of hell. It's not as extreme as like Rauravas, the animals, you know, going down to the lowest planets or something. But it's a type of hell. So, anyways, that satisfies you to some degree.
Hare Krishna?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Bhagavan Prabhu. In the translation to the text you chose for today, the quote goes as follows. Sorry?
It's true, I did choose it, yes.
The quote goes as follows. Quote, "You possess unlimited energy, but you are unapproachable by those who are unable to control their senses." Close quote. So based on this quote, my question is, why is it that the tongue is the most difficult sense for us to control? And the follow-up question would be, how to control it? That is my question.
We control the tongue by engaging it in Krishna's service, taking food offered to Krishna with love and devotion, and cooked with love and devotion, honored with love and devotion. So yeah, we control our tongue like that, and by chanting and hearing about Krishna, engaging our tongue in the glorification of Krishna. These are the ways we control the tongue. It's not eating too much, it's there. Why is it the most voracious? I mean, Prabhupada gave the example that the different species of life, they have different senses that are very powerful, like the tongue is fish is the tongue, and deer is the ears because the hunter plays the flute and, you know, it's shot like that, and then elephant is apparently, I think it's sex there. He gives the example because there's a hole dug and then there's a female elephant, and I don't know if she has bangles on her feet or whatever, but the she elephant's there, and the he elephant falls into the pit, you know. So like that. Now he says Srila Prabhupada says that in the human form, all the senses are very powerful. So you can see how dangerous it is. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he does say it's most voracious in that people are it's very consuming for people. They're always thinking, they may be always thinking, okay, what am I going to eat? What am I going to have? This restaurant, that restaurant. And in this way, it drags one into sinful activities. And we could see, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that those who do not eat food offered to Krishna, they're verily eating only sin. So we could see how this sense is dragging one down like that. Does anybody have any other thoughts about that? Okay. All right, I hope you're satisfied to some degree. Vijay Krishna?
Not to some degree. I'm very satisfied. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. All right. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.